There was a TikTok video that blew up about us, and some girl posted the silliest video that I would never think of posting myself, but it just went viral. I think she had over 2 million views or something. I opened up my platform for the website and it was like hundreds of orders. I'm scrolling through, I'm like, oh, this can't be real. Like this, somebody hacked into my account and something's going on. So I actually started calling a couple personally to go, what is like going on here? And no, they were real legitimate orders.
Well, hi there, and welcome to the Side Hustle Hero podcast, the show that is laser focused to inspire you to start or to scale your side hustle income streams. I'm your host, Joan Posavy. It started as a simple question from her inquisitive child. Is there wine in wine gums? No, but whoa, wouldn't that be cool? The idea for a side hustle was born. From that question grew Teena Gudjonson's company, Cellar Candy. Cellar as in wine cellar. After a lot of failed attempts at trying to get those darn wine-infused gummies to stay gelled at room temperature, Teena finally found the perfect combinations that led her to success in the kitchen and with her growing list of fans. Forget boring gummies like lemon and raspberry. Her website features ramped up flavors like lime margarita, pina colada, prosecco blossom, and get this, tequila gummies. Having now sold over $500,000 of product, she's got the experience, ability, and desire to stock up her regular wholesale clients in such a way that she can shut down the kitchen for a couple of months and take the summer off. If you've got business experience when you launch or scale your side hustle, that's great. But if you don't, that doesn't have to stop you. It sure didn't stop Teena. When she started, she knew nothing about business. In this episode, she describes her scramble to find a commercial kitchen after showcasing her product for the first time at a wine festival and walking away with over 100 orders to fill. You'll hear a lot of helpful insights about dealing with many of the issues most businesses are currently facing, like supply issues, figuring out wholesale pricing, and juggling increased costs. But before we do all that, I have a favor to ask. If you're enjoying what you're hearing in this podcast, I'd be so grateful if you would take a moment and leave a 5-star review at the platform where you're listening to let others know that there's valuable content here to help them start or grow their side hustle. Thank you so much. Now here is my conversation with the founder of Cellar Candy, Teena Gudjonson. So welcome, Teena.
Hi, Joan. Thank you for having me.
Well, you've created an original product. You offer wholesale, retail, private label, and co-branding to several wineries and private organizations. Congratulations on all those milestones.
Thank you.
Well, how did you first come up with the idea for Cellar Candy?
Oh, well, that was just kind of a movie night we were having with our kids sitting around, and we always enjoyed having like the traditional wine gums and popcorn, and that was kind of just part of our family movie night. And my kids were quite young and we had the wine gums. And I think my middle son just said, do those actually have wine in them? And and I think at first we were joking, yes, they do. Don't get drunk. And then, told them, no, they don't have any wine in them. And why do they call them wine gums then? We don't know, they just didn't get it. And of course, my husband and I were sipping on wine. And yeah, it was just kind of like an aha moment, like, wouldn't that be so cool if they did, or if there was that out there? So we started kind of, just talking about it. And then my kids were like, let's start a business. And like literally they were like, you should start a business, Mom. And so they went actually over to the kitchen table with paper and pen and started drawing out a label, which I still have. It's quite cute, actually.
Oh, that's cute. And how old were they at the time?
Well, we started, I think I got incorporated 7 years ago. So I started probably just messing around in my kitchen 7 to 8 years ago kind of thing.
Right.
So they were, my oldest would have been 10. And then the two younger ones would have been 9 and 5 at the time. So,
that's
5,
so cute.
9 and 6. So so they called them Viking gummies because my husband's Icelandic. So they were like, oh, we'll do Viking gummies. That's what we'll call them, Vikings. And
Viking, that's cute.
So, and essentially they just kept on me. They're like, Mom, can you try to make gummies? Can we go to the store? Can you get stuff? They wanted to, and it just kind of went from there, and they were having so much fun doing it. And that's how it all started.
Was there not a product out there for gummies that had wine in them?
No, not that we could find anywhere.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of a new concept. Yeah, we hadn't found anything remotely like that anywhere. So
It's lovely when you get excited about an idea, how suddenly you do find the time to run with it,
yeah.
right? Because you're excited about it. You'll make time for it. Well, walk us through that journey. How do you go from an idea that was sparked during that game night to seeing that first order in the retail store? Did you like Google how to make gummies?
Yeah. I've had some experience with recipe development. So I had written a cookbook. I also have a dietary background in food science. So I love creating recipes and developing recipes. And so, yeah, I started, just kind of looking at the back of what was in gummies and buying gummies and looking at the ingredients and just kind of, oh, okay. So then how do I incorporate wine and liquor into these? Or at first it was just wine. So basically, it started in our home kitchen, just trying to make gummies and little gummy bear molds and that kind of thing. And they did not turn out. I would say the first 50 batches I attempted did not turn out.
5-0?
At least.
Wow.
At least it seemed like it was, yeah, my husband would come home and be like, just thought I was crazy. The kitchen was a total mess.
I bet.
All kinds of food starches and gelatin and a mess trying to hand pour them. So yeah, but they tasted good. They just wouldn't hold their gel. And so we would keep them in the freezer, and then we would go to the freezer and take some out. And then friends started trying them, like, these taste so, and I got better and better at figuring out how to keep them gelled at room temperature.
As you're testing all of this, is there wine in all of them?
Oh, yeah. That was the fun part. Yeah, there was wine in all of them. Yeah.
Wow.
So I had a good excuse to keep buying wine, and have wine in the house.
Right. It's like, okay, I probably shouldn't start my first batch until at least 5 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was able to figure out how to add the wine so it didn't break down the gelatin, because that's what was happening. The alcohol was just breaking down the gelatin. So I was able to figure that out. And then I think some friends and family were tasting. They would have them, oh, these are really good. You should think about selling them. And
Yeah.
oh, I don't know. And I think at one point had people wanting to buy some for a wedding and stuff like that. So I decided to go to a wine festival with them and demo them just to see, like, do people actually like these? Would they actually?
Yeah. What's the reaction going to be, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was basically it. Like, what is the reaction going to be? So yeah, it was a huge wine festival, and I just demoed all night, didn't have product to sell. And the next day, literally, like, orders for hundreds of packages.
Oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah, I just was like, well, I don't know. I don't know how to sell them. I don't know where to start. But I quickly learned, because some of the inquiries were from people in San Bernardino that own stores or that were here at the wine festival from, say, Kelowna or Vernon, and wanted them in retail. So when I checked out kind of the guidelines around that, I realized, okay, you can sell them made out of your home kitchen if you're selling to farmers markets. But as soon as you go into retail, you need to be fully certified with a commercial kitchen. And
just for our listeners outside of the province of British Columbia, the areas that you just described are known as wine country.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's it.
So backtrack to that wine festival then. Those orders that were coming in then, they were from mostly businesses then?
Yeah, businesses, basket companies, people saying, where can I buy these? Like, where can we buy them? And I didn't have any avenue. I'm like, well, you can just order them and I'll just make batches up in my kitchen. But no, we had a lot of stores that were interested, and a lot of people that were doing baskets. And I think a lot of interest for wedding presents and stuff like niche kind of things like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So run by me again where you could sell creating this product out of your kitchen.
So I don't think the rules have changed a lot on this, but I could sell them to farmers markets.
Okay.
So if I was going to like a farmer market or, if I was outside of Askew's doing their local vendors where people sell their cookies and bread and stuff like that,
Right.
That's okay out of your home kitchen, but not to retail.
So you've got these 100+ orders and you can't really fill them then until you scramble and find a commercial kitchen? Is that?
Yeah. I was like, oh, hold on. Like, I'm not. So then, yeah, I had to find a commercial kitchen, and that was really challenging here in our town, in our community. There was essentially no commercial space available for me to
Okay.
do what I wanted to do, or at least not affordable
Right.
starting out.
Yeah.
So there's a community hall. It's Elk's Kitchen. I started out there and I had access to the kitchen 3 days a week, I think, but no storage space. I had to load everything in bins in my car and drop the kids off at school and go try to make as many gummies as I could. And load it all back up. And they locked things in their office for me. And yeah, so that's how I started. It was very challenging. I had a window of 5 hours a day from dropping my three kids off to picking them up. So,
And if you're going to go into those retail stores, you've got to consider how they're going to be displayed, right?
yes, packaging. Yes, my
Yeah. So how did you handle all that?
I just had some pouches, some food pouches I found online. They're quite entertaining for me to look back on. And then finally, actually, my neighbor across the street ended up she had heard about us through the Entrepreneur program. So I went to the Entrepreneur to learn about business because I had no idea what I was doing, essentially. I went to learn about business and I had made a lot of contacts. And it turned out one of my neighbors right across the street owned a print shop. And
Oh,
she
nice.
had a design experience. So she designed our original wine gums. We still have packages that we use that original design on. And since then, we've evolved into doing all these different liquor gummies now and some private labels. So we're using craft bags with much more crafty, modern feel to it, I guess, with labels.
And as far as sourcing ingredients, how difficult or easy was that given where you live?
Yeah, it's still a challenge. And the interesting thing is that with ingredients, quite often things are just not available. So now we buy things in big bulk. We have the room, we've built our own commercial kitchen, so we have the room to store a lot. But things are, especially through COVID, I would say with COVID and the supply chain issues that are happening right now,
Yeah.
that is still an ongoing, one of our biggest challenges. Even though we think we've stockpiled lots and we pre-order early, all of a sudden it's like, nope, it's not available and we don't know when it's going to be available again. And nobody has any across the country. It's just been really challenging. It's shut us down a few times actually particularly in the last year. We've just come to a complete halt because of that.
Oh man, that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, it is. It's challenging, like everything else about running a business.
Right. At what point did you decide to build your own on-site commercial kitchen?
That was 3 years ago. We grew out of that Elk's Kitchen on the side, and I was renting a bigger facility, but it was also kind of a community facility that I had access to. I had a contract with them and I had access to it kind of 90% of the time. But there were still times when they needed it for extreme kind of community events or something where I did have to, again, kind of pack up, lock up everything.
Yeah.
Other people could access that kitchen in terms of town, city workers and stuff like that. So it wasn't ideal. But yeah, so it was about 3 years ago. My husband and I were like, I think I want to do this. And I think I want to just go for it. And I did. And it's been the best.
Oh, I bet. Just to be able to open the door and then walk in, across the lawn or whatever to your...
Yeah, just to walk out one door and in the other. And yeah, it's been great, especially as a single mom who I'm single parenting a lot. My husband, he has a forestry company. He's working away, constantly gone. And yeah, so with the three kids and no family support here, it's really been a game changer for me. It's just made my life a lot simpler.
To be able to work on the property, yeah.
It's been really helpful.
Well, how do you come up with your recipes?
I'm just creative, I guess. Like I always have loved to cook. I've been cooking since I was a young child, and I love playing with things, or I see things and I put my own twist on it. With the recipes, once I developed that mixture that worked for the gelling with the wine, then it just became a matter as we evolved of playing with other ingredients in that mixture. So like we do honey gummies, and those are always a little bit different. We've done coffee gummies, which are no alcohol or no booze in them.
Right.
And yeah, now we're doing all kinds of different like vodka and peach Bellini and those kind of things. So it's just a matter of playing with the consistency is different for each one. The amount is different, the flavor profile kind of things. So, but yeah, I love doing that kind of thing.
What's your best seller?
Oh, that's hard. The new ones in the craft bags have been just flying off the shelves, and that just comes down to packaging, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Or, or maybe Canadians are just a bunch of booze hounds. Give me the hard stuff. Yeah, it's amazing because I always thought wine gummies would just be, and they were so popular. But as soon as we started coming out with some of the lime margarita and pina colada and those kind of things, they just started jumping off the shelves. So I don't know if it's so much that they love the cocktails or they love the packaging or they love, yeah. And then once they try them, they're always back for more.
Yeah, I bet.
I got to try the rest of them.
Do you actually taste like the wine or the rum in there? Really?
Yeah, that's the feedback I get. This actually tastes like a lime margarita, or this actually tastes like like I'm sipping on a pina colada, but I'm chewing it. And and so the reason for that is because you've got the flavor of the alcohol, because that is the liquid we use in the mixture to create that. And then I've just compiled everything else you would put in a lime margarita, like salt and maybe some triple sec and what's in the margarita ones, like just fresh lime. Like we squeeze the limes and we use some of the lime rind, and so it just gives you that really authentic taste of the cocktail it's representing.
Fabulous. So you've managed to basically take what a margarita would be and turn it into a gummy.
Yes, that's right.
How do you determine the price point?
Yeah. See, not having a background in business, that was tough for me. Like I had never done anything like margins, and I mean, it was all French to me, really. So I think initially it was just really keeping track of my cost of everything, it was easier in the beginning because I didn't have a lot of staff, and I didn't have, I knew what my rent was every month, and the cost of the bags and the cost of the ingredients. That's been challenging lately because everything has increased so much, like gelatin, for example. I used to pay, I think when we started, I was paying $500 a bag. And at times it's jumped up to $1,200 for a 25 kilogram bag. So the fluctuations too, and in the price of products over the last few years, that's been a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Bump the price up too much. I'm hoping that everything's going to level out, because there's always a tipping point, I think, where people, But to answer your question, I just been trying to.
No, but that's one of the factors. What you were just alluding to was that tipping point. If there's only so high you can raise the price.
Yeah, right. Why would people go buy $30 bag of gummies when they can just go buy a bottle of stuff to make a whole bunch of margaritas? So there's that too, for sure. It's tough to figure out the margins all the time, but I know, okay, I've paid for all this and I have all these assets, and now I have cash flow in the bank. So I might not be making as much as I could, but it's also like that balance of what are the stores willing to pay? What is the customer willing to pay? And just so the margins aren't as high, obviously, which has been a real challenge for me. Like when I wholesale my products now, I only do 25% off. And a lot of retailers, especially in the beginning, and even now, I get it, when they import things from other countries, especially like China or Bali or wherever they're importing it from, they're marking those products up 70, 80% sometimes to make their overhead. And so a lot of retailers want at least 60% off. And I just refused to do that because I couldn't afford to do that. And I would have been working so hard to make the same volume with, at the end of the day, making way less money. And it just didn't make sense for me as a small business or, artisan kitchen. I don't have the luxury. So a lot of retailers that support local, like really support local, they really understand that, and they've been hugely supportive of it. And I think that's the great beauty in the whole shop local thing. And the way Canada's going right now with that is that I hope it continues to really just continues on that path to sustainability here in Canada, and not having to export our raw materials and bring back, just all of that. So the whole shop local thing's been great for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That whole movement.
I'm a huge fan and proponent of shop local. In fact, most of my grocery shopping is done at the local farmers market every week.
Yeah,
And
perfect.
I always make a point of bringing cash for the merchants. It's like they
Yes.
don't need to be paying the merchant fees.
No,
No.
no, that's a good point, actually. Like that does.
I try to put it out there. So for those of you that shop local and markets, pay these people cash.
Yeah, that's a great.
And I just had someone on recently. They import rock, like soapstone,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
from Brazilian stone. And there were times during the last 3 years that the prices went up so high as far as shipping costs that they were running at a loss, and
Well,
had
this
that
is just
same
it.
conversation as you did. It's like, do we even bother, or do we suck it up and get through this period and hope that it levels out?
Hope it turns around. Yeah, I find even we do a lot of shipping through Canada Post, which has always been our best means of shipping as far as prices for the customer and for the retailers as well. It's the price point's always been a lot more reasonable than some of the other carriers.
Okay.
And also the product always gets there in great shape. Thank you, Canada Post.
Really? Wow.
Always, we could send out a box with the 150 packages of gummies and it turns up to the customer perfect every time. So whereas, we've had a lot of challenges with other couriers where it just shows up beaten up and I don't know what they do with it when it leaves
Yeah.
here. But even now, and it's no fault of Canada Post, it's just the economy and the way things are. But now they have to charge this fuel surcharge, and so that's coming back on me, and then ultimately to the customer. And so those are challenges that are just really tough to. We're like, okay, when does this fuel surcharge go back down, and do I just bump it up and make the customer pay it in the meantime? But then if you start overpricing things, they just won't buy it, and then you maybe lose your repeat customers. And so it's
Yeah.
a real challenge kind of trying to figure that all out.
What percentage of your sales is wholesale versus retail?
So if I can find the time and go to some of these bigger markets like I used to, which I have not had the time to do lately, and you can sell your product there for 3 days, you sell a lot of product at
Hmm.
those, especially they're tasting them. Almost every customer buys them. Like and then they go to the door and they finish the bag of gummies and they come back for more. so,
Yeah.
so in those events, when I go to a winery and I set up a pop-up shop
Hmm.
but to be honest, I don't have a lot of time to do that myself. And so I'm actually looking at finding some girls that can take that on for me. But sometimes even getting organized for those events is a lot of work as well.
Right.
So yeah, but on a day-to-day basis, or month-to-month basis, I would say 95% of my product is sold wholesale to retailers. And then we have our own online direct store.
Right.
The problem with that is the customer is stuck with the shipping. And so if they order 2 bags of gummies or 10 bags of gummies, they're paying now with the fuel surcharge anywhere in Canada for a small box. It's going to be, if it's going to Ontario, it's $25 at least. So
Right.
if there's a store near their area, they prefer to go pick it up and save that shipping. But we're getting more and more direct online sales.
Geographically, where are you in stores?
We have, stores across Canada.
Yeah.
And they're usually sort of just the niche gift kitchen shops, the
Hmm.
ones, yeah. And there are grocery stores and there's home hardwares that sell our product and that kind of thing as well.
Nice. How about into the States?
I did. I was shipping it to the States. Actually, there was a TikTok video that blew up about us a couple of years ago now. And some girl posted the silliest video that I would never think of posting myself. But it just went viral. I think she had over 2 million views or something. And so I opened up my
Mhm.
page one day, or my website, I opened up my platform for the website and it was like hundreds of orders. I'm scrolling through. I'm like, this can't be real. Like somebody hacked into my account and something's going on. Like this is just,
Wow.
so I actually started calling a couple personally to go, what is going on here? And no, they were real legitimate orders and they were all from the States from the TikTok video.
Okay.
so So I had to navigate that very quickly. That was overnight, just all these online orders. And I found out that I needed to have a prior FDA approval. So I had to go through this whole process of getting FDA accounts set up and the approval to send the gummies across the border and a prior confirmation number. But the trouble is that every single order I send needs the paperwork done for it. I've since learned actually now, I just learned this a little while ago, if the order's under, I think it's $200 or $400, you actually don't need to do that. But I didn't know that back then.
Okay.
I was told differently back then. Yeah, so it just became so time consuming. This whole process to get that prior confirmation number was not an easy process on their website. That each order took like half an hour, and it just became, when we could sell everything we were making right here in Canada, I thought, why am I exporting to the States when we sell out every year? Why don't I just keep building the customer base right here in Canada?
Yeah. So I would imagine you would have lost all those orders if you had to go through the whole FDA process. The ones that came in from the TikTok video.
Yeah. No, we fulfilled all those orders. I just chose eventually to stop offering shipping to the States because it was more time than it was worth to us.
Mm-hmm.
The TikTok video, of course, died down. So it wasn't like we were getting tons of them, but we were getting a lot of interest from the States, from wineries and other things. And I thought, I'm just not ready for this. And so once I shut down the shipping being available to the States, then it was a lot easier for me to manage everything, just not get overwhelmed with it all.
Have you ever seriously considered scaling it up so that you would be international?
Yeah. Every day.
Really?
Yes. The problem is, and I think a lot of moms will relate to this, especially moms that don't have a lot of support. I'm a very hands-on mom. My priority is my children, and they always have been. They've never been in daycare. And I mean, a lot of moms out there, I'm sure a lot of people in general can appreciate, it just gets overwhelming. Yeah. And so I found myself getting, every time I thought about growth and the next step, and I just found myself getting so overwhelmed with everything that I just really, I'm just going to stick where I am and do what I can do in my commercial kitchen and just be happy with that growth for now. But that being said, 2 of my kids will be graduated by 2025.
Okay.
And hopefully they're off to college or university or out of my hair.
Right.
That's it. When you turn 18, my duties are done. And my daughter is getting a lot more independent, my youngest one. So I can see in the next couple of years, and I can see already now that my oldest is driving, I'm starting to get back into, okay, what is my next step here? What do I want to do with it? And it's always a challenge because I thought about just building the brand and selling the brand. That was my end goal, I think, when I started. And I've had some things going on recently where I've gotten some advice even about selling my brand and that I don't need to do that. And there's a lot of other ways to go about it, but I should continue to just not sell my company.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Have you had or do have a mentor or mentors?
Yes, I have. I went to Dragon's Den. I can talk about it now because it's been a lot longer than 4 years.
Oh, okay.
I should reread the contract to see how much I'm allowed.
I was just going to say, is that part of the non-disclosure agreement?
Yeah. What I got from that in the end was mentorship for a period of time.
So you were actually able to pitch Dragon's Den. So again, for our US and international listeners, Dragon's Den is the Canadian version of Shark Tank.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I went into Kelowna actually and pitched it. It was funny because I saw that they were going to be in Kelowna the night before. I was on my computer and something popped up about a Dragon's Den auditions in Kelowna. And I was like, oh, I could do this. It's only an hour away. And I literally, the night before, just packed up my stuff, dropped the kids off in the morning at school and headed to Kelowna. Because it was like the next day, I think. And within 5 minutes, they were like, Manjeet is going to love you. Like, I think the producers for Manjeet. I don't know why it was just Manjeet but she's going to love you. Maybe because she's into
she's
the liquor.
Owns and started a distillery and
yeah. So just right up her alley. And so, and anyhow, I got a call very quickly or an email or something saying, we want you to come to Toronto. Like it was, So I went and it never aired. I don't know why it didn't air, but I actually know several people who have, even in our community right here, who have been on Dragon's Den, got a deal. One of them got the fastest deal in Dragon's history.
Nice.
And they never ever got aired either, and never ever got any. So
Really?
I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's interesting, but
yeah. So did you end up getting a deal?
yes, I did when I was there in person. Yes,
Yes.
it didn't transpire to actual funding or anything like that, but partly because there was stipulations I wasn't prepared to give up as well, I guess, if you'd say, or parts of the contract we had someone go over and just things that weren't viable for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I got mentorship out of it. I could have got, I'm sure, funding through BDC or whoever, and I got mentorship out of it.
Through
But
Manjeet?
yeah, she mentored me she offered a year of mentorship. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's wonderful. So you
yeah.
went through that process with her.
Yeah, we had several conversations and stuff like that. The problem was for me is that she really kept putting back onto me, well, what do you want? What do you want out of it? And I didn't know what I wanted. I still actually don't really know what I want.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to mentor someone who doesn't
Right.
really have, and because I didn't know, I just didn't, I don't
Hmm.
know what I want. Now I would tell her, I want to build my brand and sell it. And she might talk me out of that. I don't know. Because that was years ago. Like that was before COVID. Going.
Right.
So I look back and think, I'm potentially so much more. My business could have gone in so many different directions. But until you're ready for that to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I've always also not wanted to, and I told myself from the beginning, I would never sacrifice my own personal, like if I have to put my house on the line to guarantee a business loan for the side hustle I'm doing and potentially put my kids out of a home or something like that, I just
Right.
wasn't prepared to secure loans or funding with my home or that
Right.
kind of thing. So that limited me a lot. Some people are risk takers and they would have done that and probably been absolutely fine. But for me, it never felt right for me to do that.
Right.
So, and now I've been in a position where I've had people offer me funding without any security. So that's something that I'm considering right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because over the years, then you've picked up that experience, those contacts that build over the years so that if or when you do decide that you want to expand in some way, there's a lot of resources there for you.
Yeah, there really is a lot of resources. And I mean, the opportunities for us are endless. I get emails all the time from, like, just for example, I got an email the other day from somebody from England, I think it was, and they had been in Canada and tried my gummies at Intimate Winery and then looked online and then they bought some more somewhere else. They found a store in Kelowna or somewhere that sold them and bought a bunch. And they were reaching out. We would like to be your distributor for your European distributor,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
those kind of things.
Yes.
I don't even know how to respond to that. Or, well, thank you for your interest. And that sounds fantastic. And when we're ready to exporting our products into Europe or whatnot, we'll definitely reach out. But we get people from Australia that are in Canada trying our gummies and they want to sell them at retail there. But then I'm just like, how do we get them there without them melting? And there's just 100 logistics, which I know there are people out there that can definitely help with all of that
Yeah.
when I stop letting my own fears of expansion.
Right. Because when you think about it, the creation of that product began as a single thought.
Yes. Yes.
And look how far you've come with it now. You've figured it out. There's people that have been shown up that have helped you along the way.
Yes.
And that next step, if you choose to take it, I'm certain it'll happen as well.
Yeah, I'm sure. I can. Yeah, I think when I stop limiting myself, I think then the possibilities are endless. But I don't know why. It just seems it's baby steps for me. Everything seems so intimidating. And I think maybe that's because I never had a business background.
Mm-hmm.
I was a dietitian working in healthcare before. That's what I went to school for. And I think because I didn't have any sort of business background or have that kind of support, that it seems a lot scarier to me than somebody who, say, went to school for business or had that kind of experience under their belt and started a side hustle.
Right. And yes, there's people out there that have the knowledge that you need to push it forward.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're smart enough to know what you are not prepared to give away.
And then sometimes I overthink that too. Like, am I holding on to too much? It's my baby, right? Like, but yeah, I really like to take advice, as much advice as I can get from anybody that's willing to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just take it all in and I listen to all of it. And then I really am of the mindset when something feels right to me,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll just do it. It's no different than when I was building my commercial kitchen. So many people told me, I wouldn't do that. That's a mistake. You don't want it in your house. The kids will constantly you won't get anything done. You'll have your office and your kitchen on your, in your home on your property, and you'll never get anything done. You need to separate your work life and your business from so that played on me a lot before, even as it was getting built. Oh, should we do this or should we not? Should we turn it into something else? Maybe I should be listening to these people. And then, I heard a few other people say it was the best thing they ever did, like a bloom company, like flower greenhouse and all these things. And then at some point it just felt right. So I just went ahead and did it and thought, if it doesn't work out, there's always a lot of other options we can do with this.
Nice.
And it was the best thing ever. So I think, it's just got to feel right for me. I'm really analytical, so I like to take in all the information I can get and take my sweet time figuring out what to do with it.
A guideline for me is that I only want to go to someone for advice who is already getting the result that I'm wanting. If they haven't actually achieved it, they can't tell me how to do it.
Yes.
So if I need to build a commercial kitchen, I want to talk to somebody that knows about commercial kitchens.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Or that situation where they're working at home.
Yes.
A guy I know, he's a fine artist, and his studio is part of his home. But what he does in the morning is he goes out to the coffee shop and grabs a coffee and comes back. And it's that coming back is that signal. Now I have arrived at work.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a good, that would work too.
It sounded like you're not doing this on your own anymore, that you have staff.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah, I have one full-time person that's there every day. She's a mom too. So there's a lot of flexibility. And if for some reason ingredients don't show up, or she doesn't have to work, she's working because she wants to work. So we're super flexible with each other both ways.
Great.
The other staff I have too are very similar. Like, I don't even know if I call them staff, but well, of course, the kids are helping me out a lot more now. The 16 and 17-year-old, they definitely help out when needed with it. I've got two big boys, so the heavy lifting part of bringing all the stock and ingredients in and big boxes out the door, that's all solved for me now. So, no, but the other ladies, like I have a couple of friends who are teachers that one of them has Monday off, the other one has Friday off. So it works out good because we have some extra help on those days. I have other people, ladies that work at the wineries and whatnot, which is really busy in the summer, and we shut down in the summer. So it works out great for them to come work for me in the winter season. So it's just really a bunch of mothers. I do have one younger girl on staff that, but she's got another job as well. And so, yes, I have lots of help, but it's all flexibility. Like, it's all just working together. Okay, who can work today and who can work tomorrow night and who can come in this weekend and that kind of thing. So
what's the shelf life of the product?
Well, I have stuff that we keep quality control products. So almost off every batch, we take a set aside of the big batch gummies, and we have bags of our quality control product. And I just recently started throwing out some stuff from like 7 years ago or 6 years ago, the very first packages that we made.
Really? Wow.
And they still taste amazing. They still taste great. They just get hard. They're not as fresh. And some of my staff actually love them because they're like, oh, these are like those hard, chewy wine gums that you just can't get off your teeth. And of course, I know my customers, most of them don't prefer that. They love the freshness of them. And so they don't actually spoil or go bad. They just become very unruly texture wise and go very hard after a couple of years. And
great. But I'm just thinking that gives you then the flexibility to be flexible in the work schedule.
Yes, it does.
Right, because you can stockpile the inventory.
Yeah, for sure. They're very forgiving that way. And we do put a best before date on them usually within a year, because I find the flavor profile is the best within a year.
Okay. And so is one of those moms working with you look after sales, or that's something that you do, or you don't have to do much of that at this point if you keep getting emails from people wanting to distribute your product?
Yeah, I do everything. No, she's more hands-on in the production of the candy, and the staff are more hands-on in as far as packaging and production and yeah, being in the commercial kitchen, the operation of it. I'm more try to handle every other aspect of it. Yeah.
Everything else, right?
That's why I don't get back to people really quickly. I'm like, oh no, oh God, I open up my email and then I just shut it sometimes because I'm like, okay, I can't. I just need a 10-minute walk with the dogs and then I'll come back and try to catch up on some of this.
Right. So the staff that you've got basically look after the production of the product and then you look after everything else.
Yeah. And I'm very hands-on in the production too. Very
Okay.
hands-on. Yeah. Because we have so many different SKUs now and a lot of them are newer too with I literally test every batch that goes before it's molded to
Okay.
make sure so they can mold it and they can use the machines to mold it and get the candy out of the mold and the packaging. But when it comes to the actual production of cooking on our cook days, nothing leaves. Everything gets tasted by yours truly and including all of them
Yeah.
before we say, okay, this batch is ready to go into the dispensing machine. So yeah, so I'm still very hands-on those days.
What did you do for funding? Because you just mentioned a dispensing machine, so there's
Yeah.
a lot of equipment involved.
In the beginning when we started, and I just used these food pouches with these labels printed from my neighbor's shop, the cost of a label front and back was I believe close to $3 a package, like $3 per package just for the labeling. It was killing me. It was,
Wow. Yeah.
and I knew, and I didn't want to add that $3 onto the customer being a new company. So, and I knew that the packaging, if I went to digital, could be as little as 15 cents a package. And here I was paying $3.
Yeah.
So there came a point where I couldn't afford the labeling anymore, to get the labels printed and to get my first digital. If I'm going to go through with this, the only way it's going to work is to get my first order of digital packages in. And it was going to be about $10,000 was what I needed. And we didn't have the funds available to us. I didn't want to get a business loan that I had to, secure anything with. I just wasn't sure what I was going to do. And we just kind of were spent in our own personal, what we could do. And I have a girlfriend, she lives in Victoria. She's one of my very best friends. And she had just sold her house in Vancouver and then moved back to Victoria. And of course, her and I were really close. She's kind of been on this journey with me from the beginning of, and she's got good support system with business. She owns her own speech pathology clinic and she has 60 people working under her now. So she's turned her side hustle into a very viable business. And she's like, well, what do you need, Teena? And I said, I don't know, it's 10 grand, but I just can't wrap my head around pouring another 10 grand into this right now. And she's like, well, I will give it to you. Not give it to me. I will lend it to you. I will tell you what, I'm going to give you the 10 grand. I'm sending it to you today. And in the next 3 years, you pay me back. And so that's what she did. And I paid her back and then gave her a little bonus gift on top. And it was just, at that moment, at that time, I mean, now 10 grand doesn't seem like that much to me, but back then it really did.
Sure.
And if I didn't have her, I don't know, I might have just not even carried on with any of this today. So if she's listening, thank you, Carla.
Shout out to her. Yeah.
Huge shout out to Carla for helping out and just being a great friend.
Well, and it gives you that extra boost of confidence as well.
Yeah. And then actually we did go, and I can't remember what order that happened in when I needed that 10 grand, but when I went to the Entrepreneur, I did have funding available to me through the community.
Community Futures?
Yes, Community Futures. Thank you.
Yeah.
I did get a $25,000 loan from them, but the interest rates were, sorry, Community Futures, but they're not conducive to helping a new person really start out. The interest rates, I hate paying interest on anything. So I felt like, oh my God, I'm making this payment, but only this much is going towards principal and whatnot. So, but luckily our business was growing quite substantially and, money was coming in and we were making a profit. And then I think I paid them back within 8 months. So I believe that's how I bought the dispensing machine, because it was about 22,000 because I got it from the States. And I feel like it was probably Canadian, about $22,000 at the time. And so that was how I how I was able to fund that.
Right.
Baby
Yeah,
steps, like I said.
exactly. Can you give us an idea of the size of the business now?
Yeah, well, I was looking back the other day because I'm like, how much have we sold since the beginning? And I don't mind you sharing this either, but we've sold
Mhm.
over $500,000 worth of gummies since we started. And that start, keep in mind, was when I say we got incorporated 7 years ago, the first 4 to 5 years I spent with very limited production capacity.
Mhm.
So the first kitchen I was in, my ability to produce there, I think worked out to maybe 40 packages a day. The second one, we only had the space and the to do about. On the best day, we maybe could have made 150 packages, and but we could only do that twice a week there because then there was no room to process it and all of these things. So I was at 300 packages a week. And now that I'm in my kitchen, we have, and I don't always do it again because whether it's because of my family life and the kids needing me or whatever comes up in a week with them. And we're just like, you know what, we're taking the rest of the week off, or ingredients don't come in and we're shut down. And I also take the summers off with my kids. So like I said, my kids are party. So when they end school, we shut down until September. We pre-stock, and once we're sold out, and everyone starts ordering in September for Christmas. But now we have the capability to make like 500 packages a day.
Right.
So not to say we always do that. When I look at that number for me and I see, oh, we have sold like over $500,000 in gummies. To me, it's a big number because it truly is just a side hustle. And I've really always worked at it just like a side hustle
Mm-hmm.
while fulfilling all these other commitments. And I really just got a commercial kitchen that I could actually utilize a few years ago. So,
Right. Setting yourself up for the next level then.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, for someone who is cautious
Yes,
and
I'm
expanding
cautious.
and moving forward,
Yes.
what do you think it was that pushed you to actually start it in the first place?
Well, my kids are very, very initially on, and I know it sounds crazy, but their enthusiasm about starting a business and how they just didn't let me, even though I had no plans on actually starting a business at that time, their enthusiasm about the idea of starting a business just seemed, I just didn't want to let them down. I just was like, this is so cool. And what if, and then once I realized actually we could sell these, they were just like, they came to the Entrepreneur with me. They've been in business meetings with me, and they're still very much involved in almost every decision I make, which some people, businessmen particularly, think it's crazy. But I bounce everything I do off of all three of the kids and their insight. And so really, I think what pushed me to do it was just showing them, if you have an idea and you're creative and you want to put some work into it and go with it, you could do it. Like anything's possible. And so that's how it started. I think to keep growing it was the reaction from people when they tried them,
Mm-hmm.
the reaction and how much excitement was around the product and how cool the look on people's faces when they try my gummies, whether it's at a show or, a demoing somewhere. And then it's just like they're trying something so different for the first time that they just love, and then they want to try all the kinds, and then they buy them and they're like, wow, congrats. It's the reaction
Mm-hmm.
from people, or even the reaction I get via email. I get emails all the time where people are like, I just bought your products. We were in the shoe shop and we bought your products. And I just want to say, wow, what an amazing product. And everyone's so supportive in many ways. Like that feedback to me is what keeps me going on my journey, I guess. And I'll just see where
Yeah.
it takes me, because I know I have a product that no one else can replicate because I've created them myself. And any other product, there are other products coming on the market now. And I think even actually someone from Shark Tank is involved in one of them, but they're marketing them as boozy. I see peach Bellini gummies, and
Mm.
sometimes I'm like, they're copying everything I'm doing. But
Right.
it's okay. I used to get so fixated with that and but I've realized it's okay because I've tried all their products and they have all the marketing tools in the world and all the whatever, and they put their products out on the shelves. But I know there's people that like we try them once, we'll never pay money for those again. And I know almost everyone I've talked to have tried them are like, well, no, we don't carry those anymore. We want your Canadian brand. So
Right.
that's, yeah, I guess that's what pushes me to keep going. Just the raw, genuine love for my product. Yeah.
Spoken like a true chef, too.
Yes. True.
Well, and it sounded like the ingredients you use too are real ingredients. It's not artificial flavoring and a lot of crap in there. It's
Nothing.
yeah.
That was really important to me when I started, and I think that's another unique thing that we offer.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of candies out on the market, especially produced right here in Canada, that you can trust the ingredients, right? So if you're getting your candy in bulk from, I won't name any names, but you don't know where those gummies or candies are coming from. And a lot of these companies on the market now that are, doing what we're doing or putting these gummies out there, I know some of those companies are getting their candy in bulk, just like the other big bulk stores you can go to, and they're just packaging them and marketing them. Our candy are so different. Like once you have to try them, John, I send you. But we use stuff you would have in your kitchen cupboard. But the gelatin, we do use gelatin, which I'm leaning towards trying to find a vegan option for that. The texture's just not the same. And there's a lot of people that are just absolutely fine with the gelatin, but I do want to be able to offer an option there. So, but yeah, we use organic cane sugar. We use like 100% Rogers cane syrup. We use maple syrup. We use no artificial, like all natural food flavoring, fruits, coconut oil, beeswax.
Right.
Yeah, like everything in it is essentially, it's not bad for you, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Even like my mom is a severe diabetic and she can have my gummies and they don't impact her sugar levels. So she loves them because of all the protein and there's no fructose and those kind of things in them that, yeah, in a sense, they're a lot healthier than your average candy on the market.
Right.
And you can taste the freshness, you can taste the difference if you try them. So I think that's what people love about them.
Yeah. You mentioned a vegan option for gelatin. I've used gelatin, but like, what is it?
Oh, gelatin comes from the bones of beef or pork generally. So it's, so like if you make chicken soup and you boil your bones and if you were to let it cool, you have that gel on the top.
Right.
So that essentially is what gelatin's made from, but it's dehydrated. And I'm not sure the exact process available, or involved, but it's essentially taking that. So it's very high in protein, actually, very high in protein.
Right.
And there's not a lot. Gelatin is hard to source, actually. It can be hard to source in large quantities, especially, I think there's only one producer in Canada, I believe. So otherwise you're importing it.
Your kids must be so proud of you.
Yeah, well, they're teenagers, so
but they're still on side, so that's awesome.
Yeah, no, they're, my oldest is really good about telling me how proud he is and how, yeah, I know he is. But, and my daughter, of course, yeah. And then, of course, you've always got the challenges that come with 3 teenagers in the house.
I can't imagine. I take my hat off to you.
Thank you.
What's the best way for our listeners to connect with you, Teena?
I think through our website. There's a contact form through our website. So they can contact us through there. They can Instagram. We have an Instagram page. It's at Cellar_Candy. They can message us through there. They can email us just at info@cellarcandy.com.
Cellarcandy.com. Got it. Well, thank you so much, Teena, for sharing your story, your journey in the wine gummy business. And very inspiring, and for being today's Side Hustle hero.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was super nice to be on your show, and thanks for having me.
When I was on the road presenting seminars, one of the ones that I wrote and was requested most often, I called Life by Design. It encouraged people to open up their mind and really dream about what they would like to have, do, or be in their life. And then I'd show them how to go about living that life. You have the ability to craft your life by design. What does your best life look like? You may not be interested in taking the summers off like Teena does. Many entrepreneurs wouldn't want that, but it's a priority for her. Keep these points in mind when you're thinking about what you want your future life to be. Number 1, your life by design is unique to you. It's not your parents or your siblings or your spouse or your friends, it's yours. If you try to live your life the way other people think you should, we both know you'll never be happy. Number 2, challenge your negative beliefs about yourself and your potential. If you think you can't solve a problem or doubt you can do what you really want to do, change your thinking. Instead of saying, and here are all the reasons, I can prove it to you, shift to focusing on how I can. The answers may take some time, but keep asking. If you're thinking, I don't know the answer, I'd say, but if you did know a way, or you did know the next step, what would it be? You have a unique combination of talents and skills, interests and experience that no one else has. So it's true, there is only one of you. So design a life that resonates for you and work towards that image. Well, that's a wrap for today. You'll find links to Teena's website and social media on our website, sidehustlehero.com. If you enjoyed this episode, let me know you're listening and tell me how this podcast is helping you. You can tag me or send a DM on Instagram at Joan Bosovy. And yeah, you'll now also find me on Threads. Thanks for listening and hustle on.